Moving on now to Psalm 61. For the leader, with instrumental music of David. Hear my cry, O God, heed my prayer. From the end of the earth I call to you. When my heart is faint, you lead me to a rock that is high above me. For you have been my refuge, a tower of strength against the enemy. Oh, that I might dwell in your tent forever. Take refuge under your protecting wings, Selah. O God, you have heard my vows. Grant the request of those who fear your name. Add days to the days of the king. May his years extend through generations. May he dwell in God's presence forever. Appoint steadfast love to guard him. So I will sing hymns to your name forever, as I fulfill my vows day after day. The psalm is basically divided into two sections. The first section, a cry for help and a wish to dwell under God's protecting wings, to seek and to find safety. And the second part, essentially a wish that the days of the king be extended, and it's not really clear who the king is. Is it possibly a symbolic idea of a king Messiah? And maybe that is a symbol of the Messianic age, the idea that the Messianic age shall come soon and shall extend forever, an age when God's presence is felt strongly within the hearts of all human beings. And when that presence is so powerful that it puts an end to violence and want and despair on the earth. So the first part, the cry for help, is quite remarkable, especially when the psalmist talks about calling to God from the ends of the earth. And remember now that the biblical view of the earth was, as we all know, not an earth that was round, but an earth that had ends, and an earth that had four corners. So it was kind of a square or a rectangle. It's as if the psalmist feels that he is standing on the precipice at the very edge of the earth, worried that he will fall off. His heart is faint. He is in despair. And he calls out to God because he believes at any moment he might topple off the earth into oblivion. And so he claims that God leads him to a rock high above him. The word rock in Hebrew, tsur, is often used in the Bible to refer to or describe or symbolize the idea of God, who is compared to a firm and powerful rock that cannot be pulverized or shattered or destroyed, a rock that endures and exists forever, a rock of strength. And so the psalmist, when he is feeling weak and faint, reverts to the idea of falling back upon God, who is the opposite of weak and faint. God, who is strong and powerful and eternal and always there to lend support. God is compared to an eagle elsewhere in the Bible as well. An eagle who carries God's people Israel upon his wings, but whose wings also offer shelter and protection for his people. The psalmist wishes to be able to dwell in God's tent forever and to find shelter under God's protecting wings forever. And this is a very comforting kind of view. I have thought in reflection about this psalm, about times in my past when I felt most vulnerable, especially during times of sickness, but also during times of very highly emotionally charged moments when I felt that I was losing control. And there were times, again, whether through physical illness or emotional crisis, when I felt as if I was standing on the edge of the earth, about to topple, unless someone or something could rescue me and help me. And in virtually each and every circumstance, God came through for me. And sometimes God came through for me in the form of people in my life who were there to carry me through. As a child, my parents, and especially my mother, who nurtured me and cared for me during times of sickness. And as I grew older and then got married, my wife, who has been a constant source of support and help for me, again, especially during times when I was most physically or emotionally vulnerable. And those valuable and loved people in my life have been, in a sense, God's representatives or angels who have helped me through dark times. And all the while, God stands behind them as a rock, a source of strength, a source of protection and refuge for me. And so too, I think with us all, when we are feeling most vulnerable, we can turn to God for help and understand that God sometimes takes, in a sense, a form, not that God can be an image or a human form, but God manifests in a form that can be a human being who is there to help us and take care of us. The nurses who helped me when I was hospitalized on the few occasions when that happened, they were like God's angels for me, and they took care of me. My wife or my friends who came to visit me when I was in the hospital and brought in a message of hope and vitality and helped give me courage. All of them were God's representatives for me in my life. We all have this. We all have people like this in our lives. We must not take them for granted. And we would do well to understand that they present themselves not only as caring and loving people, but also as stand-ins and representatives for God. All the healthcare professionals and heroes today who help anyone who is suffering through the pandemic and who keep our society going and the engines of our community running. All these heroes are representatives of God in our age. And so I would perhaps change slightly the words of verse 7 in this psalm. And instead I would say, instead of the king, I would say, add days to the days of God's heroes, God's caring and loving representatives. May their years extend through the generations. May all of them dwell in God's presence forever, and appoint steadfast love to guard them so they can continue to guard us and see us through, with God standing behind them, essentially running the entire show. Let's keep that in mind. Let's not take any of them for granted. Thank you.